Hi, how you guys doing today? My name is Bob. I am going to be receiving my Cheetah replica from Cheetah Evolution. Can't wait to get it out here in California and finally get it on the road. One of the things that has come up, and hopefully I'm going to make a series of videos that'll help walk you through the SB100 process. And how do you get your car, your kit car replica, how do you get it titled here in California? California is not exactly the most friendly states when it comes to things like this. I know somebody that actually had a Cheetah Evolution car down in Kentucky. They literally were able to walk in with some minimal paperwork and get their car titled as a Cheetah in literally half an hour. This process, for the people I've talked to at some of the Cars and Coffees that have similar cars, it's going to be probably 1 to 2 months to get all this done. So the first thing you want to do is go to the california.gov website, the DMV site, and you can type in specially constructed vehicle. And they will give you kind of a checklist of at least how to get started. So one of the things you want to do is download 2 forms. The first form is a Form 343, which is your application for registration. This is what you're going to eventually be filling out and turning into the DMV. The other form is a 5036, which is a statement of construction. What they want to know on this 5036 is they're looking for a couple things. They're looking for the cost of the entire vehicle. They want to look at where you got your engine, where you got your transmission, and where you got your body and chassis, and how much you paid for all of that. So you want to get down those forms, fill them out as you see. And again, they talk about the cost, because in California, you are going to be, when you go to the DMV and register, your fees are going to be based on this cost. Now, a couple things. If you, say, bought your transmission from, online from, any one of the performance stores, you will have paid tax on that already. If you buy any other parts from, say, Summit Racing or any other place, you will have paid tax on that. It's important to understand that, because when you go to the DMV and they ask, how much does all this cost, you can say the total value of my car is, say, $20,000, which is saying that, but you've already paid taxes on the engine, if you bought a crate motor, a transmission, a bunch of the parts, and maybe even the chassis. If you've paid taxes on all that already, regardless of what state you paid it in, you'll have maybe a couple $100, I think, just for the DMV to do it. You will not pay like a flat 10% on the total vehicle cost of everything when you add that up. So it's a good idea to keep track of that. So you need to get all that information. In my kit, I will, Cheetah Evolution issued me a MCO, which is a manufacturer certificate of origin, and they've assigned a VIN number to it. I'm going to use that same VIN number, put it on the other 2 forms, and when I go to get a VIN verification from the CHP later, hopefully I can get my car titled with that VIN number. So they want to look at all your receipts. Obviously, I've got multiple receipts from places I bought it. And then what you want to do for your own self is get a kind of total them up. Say, okay, here's all the parts. Here's the total of parts I did. Here's my engine, here's my transmission, and what the total is. Again, if you pay taxes on all that stuff already, it's going to be very minimal what you have to pay at the DMV. The engine. You want to be careful and see if you can have documentation for the engine. Here's why. At some point, you're going to have to go to what they call a smog referee. It's real important that if you have the VIN number that's still stamped on the engine, I know a lot of guys like myself are going to get the engine decked, which means that number is going to get taken off. Here's where there's a concern. When you go to the smog referee, they're going to take a look at what engine do you have in your car, and they're going to apply whatever rules in California are applicable for that year of engine. That's what they're going to be looking for. So in my case, I had my engine block decked, and I took that number off. My serial number for 327, the casting number, was applicable to cars from 62 to 65. The good news about that is that The only smog equipment that was needed on that was a PCV valve, which mine has, not a problem. But say you had a casting number that went from 65 to say, I'll just say 70. And if you can't verify the VIN number of what actual year that engine block is, maybe because you've decked it and you don't have anything, you can say, oh, it came out of a 66 or 67. The referee is going to look at that casting number and he can assign whatever date he wants to on that casting number. So if it was from 65 to say 70, he may say, if you can't tell me exactly what year this came out of by a VIN number or something else, he says, I believe it's a 1970, in which case you may have to put a smog pump on your car. So it's really, really important when it comes to your engine that you can document, if you can, the VIN number and the exact year that it came out. I know people that have gone down there for their smog referee, and that exact same thing happened. They can't verify the year. You have a range of years that your block, your casting number was used, and that referee may say, you know, it's the latest year because I'm going to go with that. I have to go with the most conservative, which is going to be, you may have to put a smog pump on. So be careful about that. If you say your kit came partially assembled, the DMV is also going to look for some amount of labor for you to put it together. Now, there's no, $20 an hour. There's nothing that says how many hours it is or what's the cost of it. They're going to say, here's the parts. If it's partially labeled, all they want to see is a line item that says, here's what I put in. So they want to take a look at that. So that's the first step of taking your whole process. I know there's a whole process that I know I have to get a brake and light inspection. I know I'm going to have to get a VIN verification. At some point, I want to get a form on 124, which is what actually will get sent in to get your title. And I know that I want to eventually get a sequential number, which is coming out of Sacramento. That is your smog exemption. That's the part that's really important. And when you go into the DMV for the first time, you really want to ensure that the person you're talking to at least is familiar with a specially constructed vehicle, SB100 process, and getting your car a smog exemption. If they don't go ahead. I talked to somebody, again, with the Cars and Coffee. That person didn't do it. Next thing he said he knew, 1 year later, he got a requirement to go get a smog. So he had to go back to the DMV, get that removed from his thing, and go through the whole process again to get a smog exemption. So when you go to the DMV the first time, which I'm going to do here probably in the next week or so, make sure that you specify that so that the person you're talking about is familiar with a specially constructed vehicle, smog exemption, and to get your sequence number from Sacramento. Okay, hope all goes well. I'll keep you up to date. Okay, bye.